He's the guy. He's the guy who have to fight. No one can stand in front of God. Should not have to fight.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Yes. So what about Ennis? Like,
Man, Ennis.
yeah.
He's the guy.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So what you get right here is the voice of well-renowned trainer, future Hall of Famer, ISMAEL Salas, who's talking about his fighter, former WBA welterweight world champion, Cuban star boxer, Yordenis Ugas, possibly making his ring return after Yordenis Ugas, suffered a brutal stoppage loss to now undefeated, unified WBC, WBA, IBF Ring Magazine welterweight world champion superstar boxer who's widely considered by many to be top 2 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, in Earl the True Spence Jr. Earl Spence Jr. is 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. He brutally dominated Yordenis Ugas in their April 16th Arlington, Texas, AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium unification showdown, in which he broke Yordenis Ugas' rib, nose, and right orbital bone. Yordenis Ugas is now 27 wins, 5 losses, no draw, 12 wins by way of knockout. One time in his career, the Errol Spence fight, he was stopped, 35 years of age, 5'9", with a 73-inch arm reach. With that said, ISMAEL Salas, he's stating that Yordenis Ugas is set to make a full recovery, and that Yordenis Ugas is willing to take on all comers, and that he expected. This was an interview done 4 days ago by True School Sports. Shouts out to True School Sports. And he expected Yordenis Ugas to be sparring back in the ring 4 days ago, right? In which he had this to say, that nobody's going to be able to withstand what Yordenis Ugas is dishing out, and that he's going to be a newfound fighter. Now, initially, there was an interview done by ISMAEL Salas, and he was interviewed by Sean, and Sean, he asked ISMAEL Salas about fighting Jaron Boots Ennis, in which ISMAEL Salas, he stated that absolutely not. He ain't going to fight none of those guys. He's only looking to fight Keith Thurman, a rematch with Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford. He only wants title opportunities, right? ISMAEL Salas has been now bouncing around, okay, as of late, because initially in that interview, when asked about how the fight would turn out between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, he said Terrence Crawford don't stand a chance to compete with Errol Spence. And now, most recently, in the same day he did this interview, he said that Errol Spence can't beat Terrence Crawford. Now, initially he said Terrence Crawford don't even stand a chance to beat Errol Spence. That was right after the Ugas fight. Now, some may say his adrenaline was high from the Ugas fight. It was being a prisoner of the moment, right? But now, ISMAEL Salas, fast forward, talking about another fighter, an undefeated rising welterweight superstar title contender, Jaron Boots Ennis, okay, who is 29 wins, no losses, no draws, 27 big wins by way of knockout. He is 24 years of age, 5'10", with a 74-inch arm reach. Okay, so ISMAEL Salas, he's talking about Jaron Boots Ennis and the possibility of Yordenis Ugas fighting Jaron Ennis. And let's listen to what he had to say.
Who never faced the real one.
He never faced like a guy.
So he's saying Jaron Ennis never faced a real fighter. He's never faced a real competition, right?
Like Ugas, a killer.
No, he never faced it. He just taking an old name.
So he's saying that he's just taking on old names, right? He's not facing no actual stiff competition. He's just simply taking on old names, right?
You know, he been doing, that's quite fine. But who else?
Yeah. So you're saying he's fought?
They don't prove anything yet.
So he didn't prove anything yet. Now, in his previous interview he did, like I said, with Sean from Fight Hype, he stated that Yordenis Ugas is going to stay away from Jaron Ennis, and he gave Jaron Boots Ennis a lot of praise. Now he's saying Jaron Ennis hasn't proved anything. Now, listen what he says about Ennis and Boots fighting.
You're not buying into the hype of him just yet.
No way. If he can't do overweight, we will kick his ass.
Oh, really?
Different.
He says if it comes to it, we will kick his butt, right?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of flaws do you see in him? Because a lot of people get like they get very impressed by the athletic ability of Jaron Ennis.
But if you see all Ennis knockout, most of them he been rabbit punch.
Yeah.
So now he's saying Jaron Boots Ennis, all his knockouts was rabbit punching. He said he knocked out Thomas DeLorme with a rabbit punch. He knocked out Sergey Lipians with a rabbit punch. Just listen to what he had to say. So now he's saying essentially Jaron Ennis is cheating to get his knockouts.
Most of them, usually
Like the DeLorme one. Like
DeLorme.
I know you guys.
You remember,
DeLorme,
you remember that. It was a rabbit punch.
Okay.
Lucky him, the referee did not say anything. But okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right,
Yeah.
Ugas Ennis, make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, Salas. I know that's not the last question.
So he said, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Jaron Ennis versus Yordenis Ugas. This would be a great step-up fight for Jaron Boots Ennis. Quote-unquote step-up fight. Right? Since ISMAEL Salas is saying that Jaron Boots Ennis is only fighting old names and taking old names, and he's cheating to get his knockouts with all rabbit punches. So he says that all his knockouts are rabbit punches. Wow. That is pretty interesting, right? And he says that he hasn't proved anything, and Jaron Ennis can't stand in front of Yordenis Ugas, right? And he says that he hasn't proven anything. So let's make it happen. Now, ISMAEL Salas could be writing a check that Yordenis, no, he couldn't be. He is. He's writing a check that Yordenis Ugas has to cash, right? He's not writing a check that he has to cash. He's writing a check that Yordenis Ugas has to cash. That's what he's doing. He's writing a check that Yordenis Ugas is going to have to cash, right? And Yordenis Ugas coming off of a brutal knockout stoppage loss to Errol Spence, suffering the injuries that he suffered. And the first fight he's willing to make a fight with Yordenis Ugas and Jaron Boots Ennis? That's where he's going to go with this first? A fight with Jaron Boots Ennis? Yordenis Ugas is a very good fighter. Very technically sound. Cuban school of boxing. Great jab. Counterpunch ability. Has good timing, right? Goes to the body very well. Skilled. But ultimately his flaw is he has slow feet. Or dare I say, he just fights flat-footed. And so to face somebody like Jaron Boots Ennis, who's bigger than he is. Now, he's used to being the bigger guy in the ring, Yordenis Ugas. He was actually bigger than Errol Spence. I was surprised, right? But he was actually bigger than Errol Spence, right? He's not going to be bigger than Jaron Boots Ennis. He's not more athletic than Jaron Boots Ennis. Jaron Boots Ennis has the ability to switch from orthodox to southpaw. Now, I know people going to come here and they're going to say, well, Blue, that's just because you were Jaron Boots Ennis. You just team Ennis. That's what they're going to come here and say. Because, see, we don't deal with facts. I deal with facts over feelings. In my peopleizations, we deal with facts over feelings. But most people deal in their feelings. It's emotionally driven sport. And so you're going to say, well, no, you're just saying that because you're team Ennis. No, I'm saying that because of the skill set. I can separate facts from feelings. So I'm talking about the skill set that I'm going to see and that I see from Jaron Boots Ennis and that I see from Yordenis Ugas. And when you put them together, it's not going to bode well for Yordenis Ugas, especially his first fight back coming off of that performance and the injuries he suffered against Errol Spence. Now it's going to make for a great storyline for Jaron Boots Ennis, because should he beat Yordenis Ugas and he gets this fight and beats Yordenis Ugas, well, then it's immediately, the last time you saw Yordenis Ugas in the ring was against Errol Spence, right? So it's going to put him in that conversation constantly to be viewed as the next guy to either fight or replace Errol Spence as the best welterweight in the world, as many people consider Errol Spence. Now, there's people that's going to debate that Errol Spence's biggest rival, an undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terrence Bud Crawford, who's 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 wins by way of knockout, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach at 34 years of age. So that's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. But this would be a great opportunity for Jaron Boots Ennis. Because again, let's say he dominates Yordenis Ugas and stops him in the third round. Well, people are going to say, well, it took Errol Spence 10 rounds. Right? It's going to constantly keep him in that conversation with the Terrence Crawford and the Errol Spences, because he's going to have a mutual opponent. And so that's great for Yordenis Ugas. But I'm telling you guys, it's not going to be great for Yordenis Ugas. It's going to be great for Jaron Boots Ennis, not for Yordenis Ugas. Especially not coming off of the injuries he suffered against Errol Spence. But what's going to happen is excuses will be made. Well, he wasn't the same. It's going to be similar to what happened with Kell Brook and Errol Spence. When Kell Brook broke his orbital bone 9 months prior to fighting Errol Spence, when he dared to be great, jumped up 2 weight classes and challenged the unified middleweight world champion who was undefeated, Gennady Triple G Golovkin, superstar boxer, and he broke his orbital bone. Then 9 months later, he fights Errol Spence. Errol Spence stops him, breaks his other orbital bone, and takes his belt for his first world title opportunity. And the first thing people talk about is the fact that Kell Brook was damaged goods. So that's similar to what's going to happen here with Jaron Ennis. But it's a great, okay, if you consider him in his prime, and you saying all his fights he cheated, rabbit punches to get those knockouts, then this is the perfect fight for both guys, because the buzz, the hype, the acknowledgement on Jaron Boots Ennis, if Yordenis Ugas was to be successful and beat him, that would speak volumes for him in his career. Put him right back in that conversation. And for Jaron Boots Ennis, we already know what it does for him. But it's going to do 2 things for him. See, Yordenis Ugas is in a win-win situation. Jaron Boots Ennis is in a lose-lose situation. Except for the fact that it keeps him in a conversation with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. It's a lose-lose. He's going to stop Yordenis Ugas. He's going to possibly break Yordenis Ugas' other orbital bone or something of that magnitude, and they're going to tell you he was damaged goods. But if he struggles with him, they're going to say, well, you struggled with a guy who wasn't the same anymore, who's old. But namesake-wise, on a big stage, perfect opportunity, in my opinion, for Jaron Boots Ennis. Make it happen, like ISMAEL Salas said. Make it happen. Since former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman is not willing to make it happen, well, let's get Jaron Boots Ennis versus Yordenis Ugas as the co-main event to Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fight. How about that? And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon, and get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.